The year is 1559. A young woman stands before a canvas, brush in hand, a quiet confidence in her eyes. She is not in a dusty, forgotten studio. She is in the heart of the Spanish court, one of the most powerful and rigid in all of Europe. Her name is Sofonisba Anguissola, and she is about to paint the king himself, Philip II. For a woman of her time, this was unthinkable, a dream beyond reach. Yet here she was, a painter from a minor noble family in Italy, not just surviving, but thriving at the center of power. How did she get here? How did she break through every barrier placed in front of her to become one of the most celebrated artists of her generation? Her story begins not in a palace, but in a bustling household in northern Italy. Back in 1532, Sofonisba was the eldest of 7 children, 6 of whom were daughters. Her father, Amilcare Anguissola, was a man ahead of his time. He believed his daughters deserved the same humanist education as his son. So, while other girls were taught to manage a household, Sofonisba and her sisters learned Latin, played music, and, most importantly, they learned to paint. From a young age, Sofonisba's talent was undeniable. She had a gift for capturing not just a person's likeness, but their soul. Her early self-portraits are a testament to this. Look at 10. She isn't just painting her face. She's painting her ambition, her intelligence, her determination. In an era where female artists were virtually non-existent, these self-portraits were a bold declaration. I am here. I am a painter. But talent alone wasn't enough. The world of Renaissance art was a man's world. Women were barred from the guilds, forbidden from studying anatomy or drawing from nude models, which was essential for creating the grand historical or religious scenes that made male artists famous. They couldn't even sell their own work. The system was designed to keep them out. Amilcare, however, refused to let these obstacles stop his daughter. He became her biggest promoter, her agent, her champion. He wrote letters to the most famous artists of the day, including the legendary Michelangelo. In one famous exchange, he sent Michelangelo a drawing by Sofonisba of a smiling girl. Michelangelo, impressed but wanting to test her, challenged her to draw a crying boy. Sofonisba didn't just meet the challenge. She surpassed it. She drew her younger brother Astrabel after he was pinched by a crayfish. The resulting drawing, Boy Bitten by a Crayfish, was so expressive, so full of life and raw emotion, it became an instant sensation. It was so innovative that another master, Caravaggio, would study it and create his own version over 30 years later. Michelangelo himself recognized her immense talent, taking her under his wing as an informal pupil. This was an unprecedented honor. With the blessing of the greatest artist of the age, Sofonisba's fame began to spread across Italy. Her portraits were praised for their intimacy and psychological depth. She didn't just paint nobles in stiff, formal poses. She painted her sisters playing chess, laughing, and interacting with each other. She captured the small, intimate moments of family life with a warmth and naturalism that was revolutionary. These weren't just paintings. They were windows into her world, filled with personality and life. Her growing reputation eventually reached the ears of the Spanish king, Philip II. He was a great patron of the arts, and in 1559 he invited Sofonisba to join his court in Madrid. This was the moment. It was an offer that would change her life forever. She wasn't just being hired as a painter. She was appointed as a lady-in-waiting to the new queen, Elizabeth of Valois. For the next 14 years, Sofonisba lived at the very heart of the Spanish court. She became a trusted confidant, an art tutor to the young queen, who was close to her in age. She painted official portraits of the entire royal family, including the king and his children. Her position was delicate. As a court lady, she couldn't officially accept payment for her paintings. Instead, the king rewarded her with lavish gifts and a generous pension. Her works from this period defined the look of the Spanish court for decades, influencing countless other artists. But because she couldn't sign her work, many of her masterpieces were later misattributed to her male contemporaries, a tragic injustice that would obscure her legacy for centuries. After the queen's premature death, Sofonisba prepared to return to Italy. The king, out of gratitude for her service, arranged a marriage for her to a Sicilian nobleman. She left Spain, a wealthy and respected woman, thinking her life as an artist was behind her. But fate had other plans. Her husband died just a few years later, leaving her a young widow. On her journey back to her family in Cremona, she fell in love. His name was Orazio Lomellino, a sea captain significantly younger than her. Against her brother's wishes, she married for love, using her royal pension to support her new husband and his trade. They settled in Genoa and later Palermo, where Sofonisba, now financially independent and free from the constraints of court life, entered the most productive period of her career. She established a successful studio, mentored young artists, and continued to paint well into her old age. Her home became a must-visit destination for artists and art lovers traveling through Italy. Even in her 90s, her passion for art never faded. By then, her eyesight was failing, and she could no longer paint, but she could still talk about art with an energy that amazed her visitors. In 1624, a young and ambitious Flemish painter named Anthony van Dyck made a pilgrimage to visit the legendary artist. He was 25. She was 92. He sketched her in his notebook, capturing the sharp intelligence still shining in her eyes. He wrote that their conversation taught him more about the true principles of painting than anything else in his life. Think about that, one of the greatest portrait painters of the Baroque era, learning from a woman who had started her journey nearly a century before. This was her final, and perhaps greatest, act of mentorship. Sofonisba Anguissola died a year later, at the age of 93. She had lived a life that defied every expectation. She had been a daughter, a sister, a courtier, a wife, a widow, a mentor, and above all, a brilliant artist who paved the way for every woman who dared to pick up a paintbrush after her. For centuries, her name was lost to history, her paintings credited two men. But now, thanks to the work of dedicated art historians, her story is being read. We are finally seeing her not as an exception, but as a trailblazer. She proved that genius has no gender. Her legacy is not just in the beautiful portraits she left behind, but in the doors she kicked open for generations to come. Stories like Sofonisba's are everywhere in history, hidden in the margins and footnotes, just waiting to be told. If you believe these artists deserve to be brought into the light, please help support this channel. Like this video, subscribe for more stories, and share it with someone who needs to hear about this incredible woman. Your support makes it possible to continue celebrating the forgotten geniuses of our past. Thank you for watching.